Hello, and welcome to the first episode of Therapist Plays Slay the Princess. Okay, so this is a game that I've been seeing a lot of recommendations from the community to check out recently, which, if you're new here, means one of two things. They're either asking me to check this game out because they want a deep, analytical, serious, psychological exploration of characters and themes and relationships using real, practical therapeutic methods that I use in my practice, or they want to see complete unhinged degeneracy that masquerades as character analysis. If either or both of those things sounds appealing to you, stick around. You'll probably get plenty of both, to be honest. So with that all in mind, I hope you enjoy whatever kind of playthrough this is of Slay the Princess. Oh, there's cat activity. We got cat activity. Aren't you a princess? We're not gonna slay you, though. Oh, there's a cat! Whatever horrors you may find in these dark spaces, have heart and see them through. There are no premature endings, there are no wrong decisions. There are only fresh perspectives and new beginnings. This is a love story. Chapter 1, The Hero and the Princess.
You're on a path in the woods, and at the end of that path is a cabin. And in the basement of that cabin is a princess.
Okay.
You're here to slay her. If you don't, it will be the end of the world.
Okay, what do we got here? The end of the world? What are you talking about? Have you considered that maybe the only reason she's going to end the world is because she's locked up? Killing a princess seems kind of bad, though, doesn't it? Can't someone else do this? Forget it, I'm not doing this. Do I get some sort of reward? What I love about this is it sort of like lets us choose our own mental state. Like we can be like kind of depressed, nihilistic. Like I'm okay with the world ending. We could be avoidant. Transactional. Do I get some sort of reward? Moralist. Or just curious. Or we could just do nothing. Like it said, there's no wrong choices. Thanks for telling me what to do. Sort of defiant. Okay. I think this is the most therapy-oriented perspective. Have you considered that maybe the only reason she's going to end the world is because she's locked up?
While I appreciate the mental exercise, we are running up against a bit of a ticking clock. Nevertheless, let me assure you, the princess is locked up because she's dangerous. She is not dangerous because she's locked up.
I don't believe you.
And before you decide to waste even more of our time by asking how I know that, let me suggest a more pragmatic lens through which to view this situation.
Okay. I'm willing to be persuaded.
Causality doesn't matter here, because the end result is the same no matter what led us up to this point. If the princess leaves the cabin, the world will end, and there is no changing that. It's no use arguing semantics over a metaphorical chicken or egg, because the egg is hatched and it's about to ruin everything.
But I already feel sympathetic and somewhat attached to the princess, which is a funny sort of thing. It's like, now that I know her fate is in my hands, I feel responsible for her well-being.
Unless, of course, you do your job and slay her.
Maybe I just don't want to do it because I'm being told I have to, and I don't like feeling like I don't have a choice. Let's get some clarification. What sort of end of the world are we talking about?
I'm talking about the end of everything as we know it. No more birds, no more trees, and perhaps most problematically of all, no more people. You have to put an end to her.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sold yet. How can a princess locked away in a basement end the world?
Don't linger on the specifics. You have a job to do here.
The specifics
Just
are
get
important
in there
here.
and do what needs to be done. We're all counting on you.
Can't someone else do this? Look, I'll go to the cabin and I'll talk to her. And if she's as bad as you say she is, then maybe I'll slay her. But I'm not committing to anything until I've had the chance to meet. This is very reasonable. I'm sold. This is a very reasonable take. But I'm curious what the narrator has to say about some of these other options. What's the evidence?
Look, you're already on the path that leads to the cabin. Why would you be here if it weren't to complete a very important task? You've made it this far, you might as well reach the end of your journey.
I mean, I did open the game called Slay the Princess, sort of like committing to follow through with the game's intended activity. It's only communicated activity by its title. Killing a princess does seem kind of bad, though.
Does it? Are you a monarchist? Is slaying a princess that much worse than slaying a fisherman or a miller or a seamstress?
Kind of.
If anything, slaying a princess is much better than slaying a seamstress. Seamstresses contribute something of value to society.
There's an anti-princess bias here. Okay. I'm not committing to this yet.
Then I guess we'll just have to see what happens. But a word of warning. If you go in prepared to hear her out, she could easily trap you in her web of lies. And the more you listen to her honeyed words, the harder it'll be to pull yourself out.
This I believe. I'm very persuadable by honeyed words.
Each and every one of us is doomed.
The fate of the world depends on basically whether I fall to the whims of a damsel in distress.
Oh, sure. Go. Talk to her. See how that turns out for all of us.
Listen, I'm a professional, okay? I'm a therapist. Talking to people is my expertise. I'll know for sure if she's lying. I won't be caught in a web. Just watch.
You make your way up the short path to the cabin. You'll find the princess within.
It's beautiful, though, I gotta say.
We're not going to go through with this, right? She's a princess. We're supposed to save princesses, not slay them.
It's true.
Ignore him. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Let's proceed into the cabin. Make my own judgment about the princess.
The interior of the cabin is almost entirely bare. The air is stale and musty, and the floor and walls are painted in a fine layer of dust. The only furniture of note is a plain wooden table. Perched on that table is a pristine blade.
Mm-hmm.
The blade is your implement. You'll need it if you want to do this right.
I mean, I should go in prepared for anything. I'll take the blade. I'll take the blade.
You take the blade from the table. It'd be rather difficult to slay the princess and save the world without it.
I don't like this. I don't like the shift in music. Okay, into the basement.
The door to the basement creaks open, revealing a staircase faintly illuminated by an unseen light in the room below. This is an oppressive place. The air feels heavy and damp, a hint of rot filtering from the ancient wood. If the princess really lives here, slaying her is probably doing her a favor.
I feel I feel I'm being emotionally manipulated a bit by the narrator.
Her voice carries up the stairs.
Who's there?
She sounds dangerous. It's almost as if she's the one in charge down here.
Don't let it fool you. It's all part of the manipulation.
Oh my God, I'm being manipulated by someone. who? I think I'm here to kill you. Let's not reveal our trepidation just yet. We want to remain composed. If we're being manipulated here, we cannot let on.
Good. You're still listening to reason. You walk down the stairs and lock eyes with the princess. There's a heavy chain around her wrist, binding her to the far wall of the basement.
She's so coldly beautiful. Is she really a threat to the world?
She can't be.
Focus on the task at hand.
I'm focused.
And there you are. Are you here to kill me or something?
I haven't decided yet.
How about you drop the knife and the two of us just talk?
That sounds reasonable.
Look how reasonable she's being. We should just drop the blade and talk things out.
Yeah.
Don't you dare.
Yeah, that sounds
Fine.
reasonable.
We can decide what we want to do after we talk to her.
That's right.
Maybe she really is a monster. But killing someone in cold blood isn't very becoming of us.
That's right. We're highly principled as a hero. We'll let our intuition drive this conversation. Keep my hand on my blade. Be ready for
Ignore the
anything.
trembling in your hands and tighten your grip on the blade.
You poor thing. Your hands are shaking. Are you scared of me? Because you should be.
Now I'm wondering what, like, narrative design wise, why am I so immediately mistrusting of the narrator? Because he's exactly what he's telling me is what I'm seeing. He said she's dangerous. She's telling me she's dangerous. Why am I not bought into that? Why is there a part of me that's like, there's something else going on here? I will be the subversive one, not you, video game. But the fact that I'm questioning this means that no matter what, the game has me in its in its clutches.
You step forward, your grip on the blade tightening.
I don't know.
Your resolve.
Now I really don't know. I'm uncertain.
I'm probably chained up in this basement for a reason, right?
Yes.
And if that knife is the only weapon you have, you'll have to get close enough to use it.
Fuck. She's right. Maybe I really am in danger. Maybe my confidence was ill-advised.
So, you should just drop it. Best not to risk finding out what I can do.
She's unarmed. If you hesitate now, it'll be too late. End the
I don't know. What if she isn't bluffing? I'm sorry. Can we just talk? No, wait. Trying to remain composed here. I'm not dropping the blade. I'm not making a decision yet.
Then I'm not talking to you.
Shit. I guess we're at an impasse. Need some negotiation tactics here. If I agree that we're an impasse, we're at least on common ground, which is a fine place from which to negotiate.
I guess we are.
For the love of everything, just slay her already. Or drop the blade. Do something.
Are you sure you don't want to talk? Maybe you would be interested in some therapy. I mean, you seem to be in some distress. I mean, you're in a dungeon. That's got to be worth processing. How about we talk about our feelings instead? That's a place I feel safe in. Let's talk about your feelings. I don't feel safe having to make a big decision like this. Let's talk this out.
Yeah, I'm sure.
For goodness sake, the two of you can't just stand around like this forever. Eventually, something is going to give, and I highly recommend that you be the one to take the initiative here.
I can't do it. I don't have enough. There's not enough. I'm dropping the blade.
The blade tumbles out of your trembling hands and drops to the floor with an unceremonious clang.
Thank you. Maybe now we can just talk.
Yeah. That's what I want. Let's talk it out.
Against your better judgment, you step forward to speak with the princess face to face, unarmed.
So, she has a very open sort of posture. She's not communicating anything non-verbally that I should feel threatened by. Her hands being on her laps tells me that she's quite composed. Perhaps this is all a part of the tactic, though.
We'll be fine.
As I'm reassuring myself. Fuck, this game is in my head now.
Don't know what you're hoping to accomplish here, but I can assure you there's no reasoning with her. Just make sure you don't forget about the blade on the floor. You're going to need it.
So here we are. What an awkward start to a relationship.
There's people out there who think you're going to end the world. What do you have to say about that? Here's the thing. She probably knows that. She's not surprised that I'm here. That's clear. She knows what I am here to do. So I don't feel the need to inform her. I just want to have I want to build rapport, okay? Now, there's many ways that you can do this. As a therapist, many times I'm actually talking to someone who doesn't really necessarily enter that relationship with a lot of trust, okay? But trust is a very tricky thing. And it's built on momentum. We sort of have to build momentum by sort of like demonstrating that this exchange of information is like a safe thing. You might ask them something simple like, do you mind telling me your name? If they say yes, tell you your name. Ask them very simple things, and the more times they have said yes to you, the more likely they are to say yes to something bigger, like, what is something difficult that you are going through right now? Which is kind of what I want to get out of her. Let's start simple. What's your name?
She hesitates before answering.
You can address me as Your Royal Highness, or Her Majesty. Any honorific should do, really.
Note the lack of detail. You can't trust her.
I don't know if I can't trust her, or if she just doesn't trust me yet. How long have you been down here? Again, we're starting small.
Too long.
Again, she offers no specifics. No matter how hard you try, you'll never get a straight answer out of her.
I'm not working that angle, narrator. I'm trying to build rapport. Do you know why I'm here to kill you?
Do you?
Not really. I know what I've been told. Whether or not I believe it is an entirely different matter. We'll be transparent, trying to build trust.
So, you're not going to share? How pointless. If you want to talk, I'll talk. But this isn't talking.
Okay. I'm gonna shoot straight. I'm here because you're supposed to end the world.
Don't just tell her that.
That's cute. Do you believe that? Do you think I'm some sort of monster?
I'm not sure.
If I'm supposed to be capable of ending the world, then how did I wind up here, chained to a wall? Have they told you why I'm allegedly so dangerous?
No. No, but I was hoping you'd tell me, to be honest.
Ending the world seems like an awful lot for just one person to do. I wouldn't even know where to start.
The thing is she's not being defensive against this. She's not sitting here telling me, I'm not going to end the world, and you shouldn't believe that. She's kind of being non-committal to everything. She's not actually afraid of us doing that. I think she knows the hesitation is
I
there.
believe her. She doesn't have to know how to destroy the world to be capable of doing it.
Maybe that's just what she's been told.
At the end of the day, whatever the two of us have going on down here is about trust.
It is.
Whoever sent you to slay me claimed I was a threat to the world, but they didn't tell you why.
This is true.
That doesn't sound right to me. And I don't think it sounds right to you either. Otherwise, we'd be killing each other instead of talking.
She's kind of reading my mind here.
She has a point.
She,
There's a reason
She
I've been
does.
telling you to question the situation, and there's a reason you've listened.
That's exactly right.
So, I could tell you that I'd lead a quiet life in the woods, or that I'd open an orphanage, or that I'd do any other number of good things that I'm sure you think you want to hear. But you don't really know me, do you? What can my word possibly be worth in a situation like this?
She's right about one thing. Her word isn't worth anything.
Like I said, it's all about trust. Blind trust.
It is blind at the moment, but I'm trying to intuit here.
So do you trust me, the prisoner, the victim, the princess clearly incapable of ending the world? Or do you trust whoever put me here?
I trust my judgment. I'm trying to go off of like... Look, there's lots of complicated situations that you'll come across in the mental health space. And many times that the stakes are unclear in the subjects that you're exploring. So you can sometimes just rely on, like, what do you feel when you're in someone's presence? Like, if you're having trouble, like, diagnosing or figuring out what's going on, it's like you kind of just do a check on yourself. What am I feeling in this person's presence? I am feeling a lot of hesitation. I'm not feeling threatened by her, actually. I'm feeling threatened by the urgency, basically, of the situation. That if I don't decide, something bad will happen.
She's wrong. This isn't about trust. This is about risk. We stand to lose everything, all for the sake of one person, and a subjugating monarch, no less.
What I mean is I'm more stressed about the situation than I am specifically about her. What's stressing me out is like the need to choose, the need to decide, and the need to like bear the consequences of what happens. But I'm actually not getting any of my uncomfortable feeling from like anything that she is doing specifically. Well, let's just ask what her ideas are. Does she even want to get out of here? Maybe she doesn't.
You can't. Don't bother.
I'm guessing you don't have the key then. I'm sure there's a key somewhere around here, and if there isn't, well, we can always put that knife to good use.
Her sharp eyes settle on the edge of the blade.
I feel like they're trying to do a lot of work to make me feel threatened by her, but I'm just not.
She isn't suggesting what I think she's suggesting, right? She is. I'm sure of it.
Okay, a relationship. Let's go there. See what she
Don't
says.
jump to any weird conclusions. We're two people who have met each other. By definition, we have a relationship.
I agree. Okay, we've talked enough.
Oh, have you decided what to do with me?
You
I think
know
so.
why you're here.
Like I said, this is not a foolproof plan, but I'm relying on what I feel in this situation. I'm more stressed about the situation and the urgency than I am about her. So I'm getting her out of here. Or can we get to know each other a little better? Let's see.
That seems like a pretty good compromise. Leaving her alive is too risky. If you don't deal with her soon, she will find a way out.
But I'm not convinced by the urgency. I've not seen anything that tells me she's imminently getting out of here. And if that's what's going to cause the end of the world, then we've got time to talk and explore.
One way or another, I'm going to find a way out of here. You can make it easier for both of us if you help. And if you don't, I can promise that you'll come to regret that decision.
You have to make a choice. Let's hope for all our sakes it's the right one.
Okay. I'm getting her out. I feel like I'm being misled by the situation, not the person in front of me. I could be so wrong. Let's find out.
Oh, for the love of...
Yeah, you quiet. I'm the one with the decision-making power here.
Good. I'm glad you've come to your senses.
I'm willing to trust.
You're making a huge mistake.
Maybe so.
No. You're doing the right thing.
That's right.
You walk up to the chains binding the princess to the wall and give them a tug. They're large and heavy, far too solid for you to even imagine trying to break them apart.
If you don't have the key, maybe you should go looking for it. I'm sure it's somewhere upstairs.
Okay.
Doubtful. Whoever locked the princess away down here intended for her to never see the light of day. They wouldn't have just left the key to her chains somewhere in the cabin.
Yeah, well, they also wouldn't have left her here with no one to guard her. The narrator's making the assumption that someone put her here to prevent the end of the world. Well, why the fuck was I able to just walk up here and come out down to the basement? Tell me that. Suspicious narrator. Where's the guards? Let's go find that key.
I'll be here.
You attempt to make your way out of the basement, but the door at the top of the stairs slams shut. You hear the click of a lock sliding into place. Is someone else here?
Let's try the door.
You try the door. It's
Shit.
locked from the outside. You're here to slay the princess, and you won't leave until the task is done.
Let me out.
Your shouts and pleas are met with silence. I'll repeat myself once again. You're here to slay the princess, and you won't leave until the task is done.
I find myself naturally wanting to resist everything the narrator wants me to do. Because it's not giving me a choice. It's telling me I have one thing I can do. You know, at least the princess is giving me options. She's like, you can either let me out of here and whatever happens, happens, or you can leave me down here and you'll regret the consequence. You know what? That's actually building a little bit of trust with me. It's making me feel like I have my own self-determination. You know who's not doing that? The narrator.
You make your way back to the bottom of the stairs. This would have been so much easier if you'd simply slain her like you were supposed to. Easier for whom?
Yeah.
Easier for everyone.
I heard the door slam. They locked you down here too, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
The knife. Pick it up and cut me out of here.
You won't like what happens if you do that.
I don't really want to do that. Fuck it.
Against your better judgment, you place the blade against the
Oh my god.
just above the massive, unyielding chain.
We're just gonna lock eyes throughout this?
You cut into her flesh. The blade is sharp, and you make quick work of it. Before long, you're able to crack through bone, and she pulls the bleeding stub of her arm through the iron gauntlet.
Okay. It's pretty hardcore.
So much as utter a sound. Free from her bindings, the princess turns to face you, her fierce gaze meeting your eye. How is she so composed after losing an arm? It's like she isn't even bothered by it.
That's a good question.
Thank you. Now let's get out of here.
Okay. Let's go to the door.
No, we won't have any of that. The stakes are too high. You can't just let her escape into the world. No, I just can't let her escape into the world. As the princess approaches the bottom stair, your body steps forward and raises the blade.
Hey, I didn't decide this.
Wait, this isn't fair. You can't just do that.
Yeah, the voice of the hero is kind of on the exact same line of thinking I am.
Watch me.
No way. Oh, there's an option to warn her here. That's sneaky.
Stop that.
I thought this was a little too easy.
Your body lunges forward to sink the blade into her back, but the princess swiftly moves out of the way before you can connect. Stop it. Stop resisting me. I am trying to get you out of here alive.
I am only resisting you because of the way that you proposed this was going to go. I think we're going to have to break down the psychology of why my brain wanted to react that way. I think there's also a bit of choice paralysis going on here as well. The idea that like they're giving me all of these options that are the same, knowing that this is the sort of unique one, suggests to my mind that it's like the favorable outcome. Even if it's not. I actually have no idea if it is or not. But like whatever's happening, the game is like leading me to do exactly what it wants me to do, which is kind of brilliant. I'm gonna resist.
The blade. Move the blade.
Also, am I some sort of like lizard man? Why do I have like scales?
You're doing your best to help me, aren't you?
I am.
See the conflict in your eyes.
I'm conflicted.
I'll make this quick.
Help me.
She steps forward and pries the blade from your rigid hand.
I am a lizard. I'm a reptile man.
Maybe I'll see you in another life.
And then she slits your throat with an almost clinical ease. Her face remains unchanged as she watches you collapse to the ground, blood flowing from your butchered neck. This is the end, isn't it? I'm afraid it is.
Shit.
Everything goes dark, and you die. I hope it was worth it.
Yeah. Chapter 2. Prison.
You're on a path in the woods, and at the end of that path is a cabin. And in the basement of that cabin is a princess.
The narrator's like tone of voice has changed.
You're here to slay her. If you don't, it will be the end of the world.
It's more insistent. What am I doing here?
I can assure you that you're not dead. And to answer your second question, you're here to slay the princess. I literally told you that a second ago. Don't forget what he did to us the last time around. I wouldn't trust a word out of his mouth. There's got to be a way out of here, for us and for the princess. We just have to keep trying.
Holy shit. It's literally my own... The way my brain is thinking right now has literally like dialed up my skepticism. And here I find that my character is also suddenly a skeptic. This game is perfectly in sync with my train of thought right now, which is amazing and terrifying. That there is the writers have fucking outdone themselves with predicting the pathos of the player, basically. and what sort of reaction we might have in this situation. There's a lot to break down here. Right now, I'm kind of just swept up in whatever the fuck is happening.
I'm inclined to agree. If he doesn't remember what happened last time, maybe it's best to keep it that way.
And yet, there is a part of us that remains how we started this journey, which was sincere and curious about doing the right thing. The voice of the hero is concerned with virtue. What is the right thing to do? That's basically every decision we were making at that point was about, like, how can I do the right thing? What's the wrong decision? The game told us there is no wrong decisions, but we resisted that immediately. We're a hero, damn it. The voice of the skeptic is not concerned with doing the right thing. It's on outsmarting the situation.
You know I can hear you two, right? It's going to be a lot harder than you think to keep secrets from me.
Let's assume I'm telling the truth and all of this really did already happen. Why should I listen to you? Why should I bother doing anything? Yeah, this is the voice of the skeptic, to outsmart.
Those are two very different questions, but fine, I'll indulge you if that's what it takes to get you moving. Let's say for a moment that this really is the second time you've met me, or at least a version of me. You died last time, which probably only happened because you didn't listen to me.
That's actually not how I would tell the story, friend. I didn't die because I didn't listen to you. Even if I slayed the princess, I'd be stuck in the basement. Whoever locked me down there.
The absolute irony. Well, that's one way to put it, I guess. You really don't remember what happened last time, do you? You practically forced the princess to kill us.
That doesn't sound like the sort of thing I'd do, which is honestly all the more reason for you to not buy into whatever self-delusions the three of you are crafting.
The three of us?
But this is a thought experiment, so I suppose I'll continue to give you the benefit of the doubt. If I did practically force the princess to kill you, it was probably for a good reason. Did you try and free her? Did you say something really mean to me? Because if I really did what you said I did, you probably deserved it. I'm a professional, after all.
Wait! That's what I was saying sometime earlier. This is like straight out of the narcissist playbook. Which is, yeah, what you're saying happened didn't happen, but if it did, you probably deserved it. This is an immediate deference of guilt. For as much responsibility as the narrator wants to put on us, it's not really interested in taking any responsibility of its own, which is fascinating.
Sure you are. Anyway, I believe your second question was, what's the point of doing anything? If you're asking that, it sounds to me like you're making the rather dangerous assumption that your actions last time around didn't have any consequences. What do you mean? Of course there weren't any consequences. You forced the princess to kill us and now everyone's right back where they started. That sounds pretty consequence-free to me. Yes, but in this purely hypothetical scenario, that begs the question of how you got back here. Did time simply rewind itself, or were you instead transported to a different world entirely?
Interesting.
If it's the latter, what do you think happened after you died?
Well, we went through some sort of experience, which out of that experience, we developed a new perspective. Going into the next situation, this voice of the skeptic, which is really there like as a kind of defense mechanism, right? You can actually think about your own life being somewhat like this. Like every time that you enter a relationship and you get, let's say, burned or something like we were, we're naturally self-preserving as people, and so we develop let's say, a skeptical voice in our mind that is now on the lookout for whatever it is that we've decided was the instigator. And many times that instigator is people who are similar to the person who betrayed us, or it's simply a reaction to the kinds of things that we were told, right? Our skeptical voice seems very, like, the skepticism is mainly attuned to when I'm told what to do, I'm being misled and manipulated, which may not always be the case, actually, but it's primed to perceive any sort of, like, clear direction as manipulation now.
Do you think the people there lived happily ever after? Or do you think that the princess, left unhindered, brought about the end to everyone and everything, just like I told you she would?
I'm not sure, actually. I'm still kind of curious about why I'm a fucking lizard man.
What a conveniently ambiguous group of things for her to ruin. For all we know, the princess left the cabin and never saw another soul.
That's true.
Oh, how I wish that were the case, but if the princess weren't a certain inevitable threat to the world, the four of us wouldn't be here.
Now there's 4 of us?
You're talking in circles.
I mean, I guess technically there's the narrator, there's the skeptic, there's the hero, and then there's me.
No, I'm talking in facts.
Let's talk about this princess.
Be quick about it.
I have questions. The only reason she was even able to kill me last time was because I let her. How was she supposed to end the world? What is this place? I need clarification.
People locked her in that basement, and I told you what this place is. It's a path in the woods. Don't overcomplicate things.
I want to complicate them. That's my job. If people locked her away, why couldn't they slay her? Why is this falling on me? What is my role?
Look, I'm not supposed to say this, but it's because you're special. You're the only person capable of doing this.
Is that right?
Call it a prophecy, if that helps, but it's just the way things are.
You're not going to buy my trust with praise, narrator.
Oh, I didn't know we were special.
No, don't listen to him.
Of course you're special. Why else would you be here?
Don't listen.
Yes. Right. We're here. Special. Look, you're annoyed that you're here. I get it. I'm also annoyed that I'm here. But we're all in this together, and we're dealing with a bit of a ticking clock right now, so please just get to the cabin.
If I don't slay her, I just end up here. What aren't you telling me?
I've told you everything you need to know. Going into more detail would just overcomplicate an otherwise very simple situation and make your job more difficult.
Here's the thing. The princess was completely honest with me. She was withholding, like she decided not to tell me certain things. Like she wasn't willing to tell me her name or whatever. But the narrator is like, I feel like he told me something that wasn't true. I'm just not exactly sure what.
Not to sound like a broken record, but the less you know about her, the better things will go for all of us. I know it sounds like I'm hiding something, but you're going to have to trust me here.
This game is literally reading my mind. Okay. How is she supposed to end the world?
She just can. Believe me, I wish I could tell you more, but you'll just have to trust that what I'm saying is true, and that, despite it all, you're fully up to the task that's been given to you.
Telling me to trust you is not helping me trust you.
You haven't given us an ounce of proof. You do know that, right?
What proof could you possibly ask for? Literally anything.
Yeah, that's literally.
Fine. Check your pockets.
Let's check them.
You put your hands in your pockets and pull out an envelope with the words, "The Evidence," written across the front.
That's convenient.
Within, you find a note in your handwriting. It reads, "The princess will end the world if you don't stop her. This is an immutable truth."
I mean, the narrator's voice is in the same voice as the hero and the skeptic. Is it possible that the narrator is like the composite of all of the voices of my own character, who's been through this many times? And maybe there's a reason why. Maybe there really is an actual reason why I can't or shouldn't know.
That doesn't prove anything. How do we know you didn't just forge our handwriting?
It's a good question.
I wish I could tell you more, but there are some rules I have to follow for all our sakes. Please just trust that these rules are in place for a reason. I'm on your side.
You mean you're on our side as long as we do what you tell us to?
Exactly. Because you not doing what I tell you to do means you're putting the world at risk.
I think we've got everything out of him we're gonna get.
Yeah, that's all.
Great. Now, if you don't mind, the whole world is waiting with bated breath for you to save it from ruin.
No, fuck that. I'm leaving.
I'm not so sure running away is the best idea. We're not the only person stuck here. What about her?
Damn.
Seriously? You're just going to turn around and leave? Do you even know where you're going?
No, I'm just... In my mind, I'm prioritizing self-determination over basically everything else. Which is kind of interesting, right? Like, at the beginning, I was very focused on what is the right decision to make. Not necessarily the most optimal, but what is the, like, most immoral character. Like, I want to be a good person. The skeptic is focused on basically outsmarting the situation. The part of me that wants to just, like, choose the choose the response that's, like, you know, the furthest away from exactly what I'm being told to do. But myself, I'm sitting here thinking about, like, okay, there are consequences to every choice I make, but what's most important to me is that I feel like I'm making my own decisions, which is a need that's not being met by any of these voices at the moment. Okay, fine. I'll go to the cabin and I'll talk to the princess. Maybe I'll slay her, maybe I won't. I guess we'll see.
I guess we will.
Good. Going back to the cabin is the only way we can get to the bottom of things.
A warning before you go any further. She will lie, she will cheat, and she will do everything in her power to stop you from slaying her. Don't believe a word she says.
I really don't know who to believe anymore. And here's the thing. I want to talk a little bit about why the voice of the skeptic has emerged. Okay, and this will tell you a little bit about, like, human psychology and trust. Okay. I need a tool for this. Okay. Communication is a very complex thing. Okay. And I've done a lot of, you know, couples counseling and counseling with people who, you know, come into therapy and say, okay, you know, this relationship didn't work out, or this one I'm in is really challenging because the trust is gone. And I think trust is a very hard thing to nail down. Like, what actually builds trust? How do we earn it? How do we maintain it? Like, it's not always clear what the conditions are, and they are different person to person. But there is at least one perspective we can use to understand why the voice of the skeptic has come through specifically now, and why its bias is leaning more towards, like, internal assumptions rather than being willing to listen any more to external things. Okay, so there's a couple different things at play here, right? Things that are going on in our minds, whether we know it or not. And this is very brilliant of the game because I'm certain they designed it this way on purpose. Okay, so let's make a difference first between language and paralanguage. Okay, so language is, like, just the stuff that we say to each other. It's the verbal communication, it's the vocabulary, it's the text, right? Paralanguage is like the subtext. It's the stuff that's being communicated in nonverbal communication, in the level of eye contact, it's the posture, it's the tone of voice, it's the rhythm, right? It's all of the stuff that has a lot more subjectivity and leads to inference, right? And we also infer things based on, you know, the language that we use, but there's a lot that's going on in paralanguage, right? And it's very easy to sort of have communication break down because of communicating the wrong things through paralanguage. So imagine I'm talking to my spouse or my significant other, whatever, right? Someone I'm close with. And I noticed that they've been a little distant to me lately, right? I might say something like, you don't really want to talk to me right now, do you? Okay. Language. You don't really want to talk to me. It's an observation, right? It's true that we're not speaking. But all of the stuff that I'm saying in the way I organize that thought, which is, you don't really want to talk to me right now. Like the way I lead that in, the way I sort of shrug, move my eyebrows like that, there's a whole other sentence that gets communicated beyond the language, which is, you don't really want to talk to me right now. And I don't think you have a good reason for ignoring me. And it's your responsibility to tell me what's wrong. Or, I've done nothing wrong. Like there's so many like ways that we could interpret a statement like that because of the paralanguage, right? Now.
Yes, don't believe a word she says. Just go in, take the knife, and do what you're supposed to.
The voice of the skeptic is going off a lot of this paralanguage, right? It's the way that the narrator has insisted on things. It's used this urgency. It's kind of like we're not listening to what it's saying anymore, and we're trying to detect like what is it trying to infer? What are its motives, right? And we have to do that because we can't see the narrator. We can see the princess. The princess, you know, for some of the ways that she's also maybe not being completely transparent, there are nonverbal signs that like tell us, you know, a little bit more about what she's feeling. And her language and her paralanguage, they're pretty in sync, right? Like when she says, I'm dangerous, both what she's saying and the way she's saying it, they match up. When the narrator says something like, you can trust me, the language is telling me something and the paralanguage is telling me something different, right? We become very skeptical when there is an imbalance between the language and the paralanguage, right? And that's why I think the princess is a little more like easy for us to talk to, or at least to find reasonable, because we're working with more information and it's consistent. And that's the thing about trust. We tend to trust more on transparency than on rationability sometimes. Like a lot of what the narrator has said has come true. Like we really don't have a lot of choice. We are stuck in this situation. Like what he said will happen has happened. We didn't slay the princess. We died. Presumably the world ended, right? And now we're back here. So it's not that he's incorrect, but trust is not being built. In fact, it's being lost because we're not confident that we're getting a whole message. What we're getting is called a partial message, right? And a partial message may include accurate things, but when we feel like there's something missing, what we tend to do is fill in the blanks, right? If I'm sensing anger and I don't know what the source of that anger is, like I'm sensing urgency and pressure and like all of these things from the narrator, But when I don't know why, like it's not telling me, you know, it's urgent. Well, it just is. It is because I said it is. The mind makes it up, right? And we go off of whatever we sort of intuitively feel, which is not always accurate, right? I'm not saying that the narrator is not to be trusted. But I'm pointing out why the voice of the skeptic is emerging now that we have enough like evidence with the narrator to start to doubt its intentions, right? Because it's not being clear to us. So far we're getting a lot of partial messages from the narrator, and what we're looking for is what we might call a whole message. Okay, and we'll sort of break down what is included in that as we go forward.
Did you just say wink out loud?
No, I didn't. Wink.
Okay, it's a bit cheeky.
Just ignore this clown and focus on the princess.
Okay. We're still making our own decisions here. I'm gonna proceed.
The interior of the cabin is less a cozy woodland retreat and more like a dungeon. A few pathetic wisps of starlight attempt to illuminate the cold, uninviting stone walls, and thick, wrought iron bars barricade the windows, reminding anyone who enters that this is a prison.
So to me, this is like, remember how at the beginning I was like, this is quite suspicious? Like, where are the fucking guards? This doesn't seem believable. Like that, it doesn't even seem like a dungeon. And the narrator has sensed this and is trying to convince us that this is a more realistic scenario. Here's a bunch of stuff. Are you happy now? Does this look more like a fucking dungeon? Okay, here's some bars.
The only furniture of note is an iron table bolted to the floor, a pristine blade perched on its edge.
Okay.
The blade is your implement. You'll need it if you want to do this right.
Look, I'm still gonna take the blade. I'm not going into any situation without my implement. We'll take the blade.
You take the blade from the table. It will be difficult to slay the princess and save the world without a weapon.
I mean, on that, I can agree.
Good idea. Much better to be armed than to go in with blind hope alone.
It is scary how much my brain is like on this track right now and how much the game is confirming that. The skeptic is highly aware of this though. In a sense, it's like, yeah, the narrator has done more to convince me that this is a dungeon, but that almost makes me more skeptical. You didn't even say anything about the mirror on the wall, for example.
Definitely did not. Does a mirror not count as furniture of note to you? Because it should.
That's right.
There isn't a mirror. There's a table, the blade sitting on the table, and the door to the basement. There's nothing else in here.
That's just a straight stone cold lie.
There's definitely a mirror.
Yeah.
There isn't.
I think you know what we have to do.
We have to go look at the mirror. Why would you lie about that? What's the point?
Exactly. Why would I lie about something so meaningless? What good would a mirror even do? That you waste time preening yourself instead of doing what needs to be done.
Every time something is being communicated and I sense an imbalance here, right? The more I have to do, more work I have to do to fill in what this person wants or what they think about me, what they think about my intelligence and my observation skills, the more I start to build my own idea. Well, you think I'm an idiot. You think I'm easy to deceive. You don't think I have good judgment, right? All of that stuff is things I'm reading in the paralanguage because I'm only getting partial message and we're not satisfied. We need whole messages to understand people. And when we don't get them, our brain just tries to do the work for us, right? And so lots of relationships that people develop trust issues is because too much of this is happening. We don't know actually how to communicate a whole message. which we will talk about what's contained in that in a second. This whole cabin is different than last time.
Very different.
Even the hero is starting to be skeptical.
Yes, but why? Did he change it? Or did it change all on its own? Maybe it's a different cabin entirely.
Yeah.
Now isn't that a novel thought? Maybe you haven't actually been here before. I hope this means you'll finally drop your ridiculous past life nonsense. You haven't died, and you certainly haven't been killed by the princess.
Your memory is wrong. That's the only thing I'm taking away from this, right? Is I exclude all attempts to be reasoned with.
So focus up. Don't get distracted by minor details.
They're pretty big details, friend. That I can believe my lying eyes. Fuck it. Let's look at the mirror. I kind of want to see
Walk up to the wall next.
if I'm really a lizard man.
It's a wall. There isn't much to see here. This really isn't funny.
Let's give it a wipe.
You reach forward and put your hand against the cabin wall. I hope you know how ridiculous you look right now.
Wait, what? What do you mean the wall?
But it was there a second ago.
And now it's gone. If he doesn't want us to know about it, it must be important. We should keep our eyes peeled. Maybe it'll be back.
If he doesn't want us to know about it, it must be important. Yeah. We're trying to figure out what the whole message is. Okay. Well, I guess we go in the basement.
The door to the basement creaks open, revealing an old stone staircase. A few sputtering torches attempt to vaguely illuminate your path, dancing across glimmering patches of slimy moss on the stone steps. If the princess lives here, slaying her would probably be doing her a favor.
It's almost like the narrator is aware that the lack of detail the first time around made us skeptical. So it's like, oh, you want some more detail? There's flames there and there's moss. Whatever. Like it's it feels like superfluous detail to convince us.
Her voice, harsh but controlled, carries up the stairs.
I'm curious if the princess is any different now.
Is that a visitor I hear? Please, come downstairs. It's been a while since I've had company.
Okay, let's see if we get a more consistent message from her.
Does she remember us?
That's a good question.
You walk down the stairs and lock eyes with the princess. She looks up at you, the heavy collar around her neck clanking loudly as she moves. The chains binding both her wrists to the far wall, joining the metallic chorus as she adjusts her hands in her lap.
The prose has also gotten like wordier. And it's like I said, it's like, oh, so this wasn't convincing enough for you at the beginning, so she's like super chained up now. Doesn't that mean she's dangerous? The more you do this, the more my skepticism increases.
So much for cutting her out of here.
Yeah, if we... I mean, what? We're gonna have to cut her hands and her head off.
Do you hear yourself right now? Cutting her out of here never should have been on the table.
Have you noticed the empty chain on the wall? Odd that in a place where everything seems to serve a distinct purpose, there would be something so obviously useless.
Yep,
That was there last time too, wasn't it?
it was.
It was.
I am the skeptic. This is fucking creepy.
What an interesting development. Why don't you have a seat? The two of us should chat before you bury that thing in my heart.
Now I really don't know what I'm gonna do. Shit. I'm not sure I need to do much of anything. Do you see how locked up she is? Yeah, that's what the narrator wants me to think. Oh, she's super locked up now. Let's just sit with her. I'm still invested in talking to her.
You step towards the princess, but she stops you before you get too close, holding up one shackled hand.
There's fine. I'd prefer we keep some distance until we've sorted this out.
Okay. She's being much more reasonable again, and this time more welcoming of conversation.
That's reasonable. We might as well put her at ease.
I don't like how much this game is in my head right now. It's like literally 10 steps ahead of me. But again, the reason I am willing to sit exactly where she told me is because her language and her paralanguage, they match up, right? She's communicated to me before, I am dangerous. She's said as much in very clear intonation, like there wasn't a mismatch there, right? It just makes me more, it makes me suspend my judgment, my skepticism more, basically. So we're told to.
You do as she asks and sit on the floor, still a good distance away from her.
Thank you. Now, what are your intentions for me?
And she's being very respectable as well. I'm kind of curious if she remembers. What do you mean by my intentions?
Yes, your intentions. You have a knife. What are you going to do with it? Why are you here?
I don't really know.
There isn't a keyhole in these shackles, so I'm afraid my only way out is surgical removal.
Okay, I don't know if I could go... Knowing that I actually did cut her hand off, I don't know if I can go through with cutting her head off.
Is she forgetting about the shackle on her neck?
Hopefully
Does
not.
she think she'd survive a beheading? You're right. Maybe she's delusional. All the more reason not to trust her.
Trust is so important to this situation.
Unless she really could survive.
Yeah.
Though I suppose you could just be here to kill me. But I don't think that's in either of our best interests.
I've been here before. Am I the only one who remembers that?
Oh? Are we acknowledging that? I thought we weren't going to give away the game. But yeah, I remember.
Okay. Is this referring to like the the video game? Her acknowledgement of this makes me distrust the narrator even more, because he was like, no, you haven't been here.
I guess what you said back in the woods really was true. As much as I would like to remain in denial, it's no use. This has complicated things.
But I'm sure the skeptic is digging in even deeper now. Which is a problem, because like I said, the voice of the skeptic does not necessarily mean that we interpret paralanguage often incorrectly, right? Like, we get so used to filling in the blanks, and we may develop the idea that, oh, this is the only way to interpret people. I'm actually going to stop listening to what people say and just try to go off of my assumptions. So I can actually see the skeptic being like overly skeptical now, because a few times that it's been right, and now it suddenly thinks that every judgment it makes, every inference, has some merit.
It's complicated things. How exactly? Ideally, this was supposed to be one and done. You go to the cabin, you heroically slay the princess, and in the process you save the entire world from being damned to oblivion.
I am kind of curious what would have happened if I just listened to the game from the very beginning. Like, would it have just rolled credits?
The situation right now, where you're getting a second shot at things, is a contingency.
I'm curious, like, what the developers have seen. Like, how many people immediately resist, as I did, and tried to outsmart the game, versus the people who just, like, listened to it and clicked on the game called Slay the Princess and then slayed the princess.
A contingency for what? For you failing, obviously. And you being here means that things are going to be a lot harder than they were. I really shouldn't say anything else. I'm just going to make it worse. Just good luck.
Yeah, the skeptic is probably like, it's probably hyper focused on, I bet it actually takes the bait. I bet it takes the bait on like the superfluous details because it thinks it's smart now. I can't trust it. I can't. The skeptic has been compromised.
Now hold on, if you knew this could happen, why didn't you believe us back in the woods? Why lay out all those hypotheticals? We didn't have to talk in circles.
I can't trust any of these people.
I needed you to believe this was your first time here, even if that wasn't the truth. I hoped if I pushed back hard enough, I could cram this seeping mess back into the bottle.
And that's the thing. The narrators now admitted that they lied, whereas the princess never actually lied to us. She was withholding, but she never outright misled us. In fact, she's been quite transparent about like what would happen. But this unfortunately probably makes the skeptic feel like everything it thinks is correct.
And maybe I wanted to be the first version of me that you met. I didn't want to be confronted by the alternative.
Okay, this is the first statement from the narrator I can actually empathize with. Why? Because there's a little bit more emotion in that. One of the parts of a whole message is emotion. Okay. It's the third part, really. We'll get to the other ones. But the expression of emotion in a statement is what allows the person you're talking to access your empathy for them. If you deny, obscure, or withhold the emotional reasoning behind your judgments, people do not empathize, okay? And we assume what the emotion is through paralanguage if it's not shared, right? You don't really want to talk to me right now, do you? Right? And the emotion that's being communicated in paralanguage is, you don't really want to talk to me, do you? And you don't have a good reason for doing that, right? There's anger, there's injustice implied in that, right? Which puts the other person on the defensive. If I were to say that with different nonverbal communication, not with the head tilt and eyebrow raise and eye squint, right? If I were to say, you don't really want to talk to me right now, do you? It communicates something different. The emotional part of that statement shows something true, which is I'm afraid that I've done something wrong, right? And the paralanguage is more consistent with the actual language. Okay. Which is the second or fourth part, actually, of a whole message, right? Is a need being expressed, right? You don't really want to talk to me right now, do you? The need that's being expressed by that emotion is, I feel uncomfortable or sad or upset when you and I are not on the same page. I'm expressing that emotionally. I'm showing that there is a need for this. When I say it the other way, you don't really want to talk to me right now, do you? I'm kind of communicating that like what's important to me is not us communicating better. It's me being correct about my judgment about why you're upset. Okay. Again, we end up with partial messaging and the other person's going to become defensive. This is the first time that the narrator has like maybe even been somewhat emotionally vulnerable because it's saying what it wants. Like it's expressing a need and the emotional paralanguage is consistent with that. But the skeptic is not, it's already too like invested in not believing it. So I don't think it's going to buy it.
That's pathetic.
Yeah, I knew it.
I never said I wasn't.
This is sad now.
I get it. It would be pretty upsetting, wouldn't it? To know that you might not be the first version of yourself. At least we can remember what happened before. Seems like we should count ourselves lucky for that.
Yeah, because the hero can now relate to the narrator. because it's able to see, oh yeah, I also have a need to feel like my choices matter, and to feel like, I'm important in this storyline. Like, it's able to empathize with that. It can relate. It can see the emotion clearly because it's experienced that too. The other two here are thoughts and observations. Okay. These constitute a whole message. For example, in the situation I talked about, you don't really want to talk to me. You're upset. That's a lot of my judgment, and what's being communicated by assumption is my need to be correct and my anger, right? Very improper way to approach that subject, because I'll only communicate a piece of it and not something honest. A whole message would be, starting with an observation. I noticed that we haven't been speaking a lot lately. I'm worried that I did something wrong. I'm feeling pretty upset about the idea that I hurt your feelings, and I really hope that we can work this out. Okay. Even if I did something wrong, I guarantee you that message gets received with so much more trust that I'm being earnest and invested in us communicating better than the other one, which is usually how we communicate with people, right? By sort of obscuring these pieces. So we're getting something closer to a whole message from the narrator, but like I said, the skeptic is communicating in this world, so it's beyond saving, I think.
Exactly, he gets it. You're lucky, so don't waste that luck by messing it up again. All right?
Or does the narrator know that I am thinking this, and it's just manipulating me by giving me a whole message, knowing that I would feel susceptible to that? I don't know.
Moving on. Why is it important for us to be ignorant? How is it ever helpful to be in the dark?
That's a good question.
The more I say, the more your mind will swim into dangerous waters. Even saying that is too much.
Yeah, the valley of trust continues to grow between the narrator and the skeptic. But I'm also trusting the skeptic's judgment less and less too.
Your success hinges on you having imperfect information. For the sake of the entire world, you need to accept that.
Yeah. I'm curious if we go around another loop, like whatever happens. Like, what comes next? What comes after, like, oh, I'll just go along with this, and I'm curious about what happens. Seeing that didn't work out, and now we're sort of skeptic. I'm suspicious now. Like, what comes after that? Is it just like, fuck it, I don't care about any of this, like none of this matters? Because I've tried taking the right approach, and then I tried being like hyper critical of the situation and outsmarting it, and now I just don't fucking care.
I won't. Give it a rest, this isn't helping.
Focus. This is a serious situation. You shouldn't be daydreaming.
Okay. Let's continue here. What happened after I died last time? She knows something.
Nothing happened. You died. I went upstairs. I couldn't leave. I found myself in a new place in chains again. More of them.
I believe you. She's right. Like, from the vantage point of me, the player, that's exactly what I've seen as well. I trust you.
And now you're back.
Is that really all she knows?
Yeah, the skeptic isn't sure.
It's not like we have much of a clue about how things work. And she's probably even more in the dark than we are.
With the voice of the hero, he's empathetic.
You're looking at me like I might be hiding something. I'm not.
I believe her.
I guess it's possible she really doesn't know anything. Maybe both of us are stuck in this loop without any idea why or how.
But the skeptic is, like I said, sort of hyper attuned to outsmarting the situation. It probably wants, I don't know, like just pull every lever, even if it's, I think it's beyond rational decision making, and it just is super invested in being correct. What's the other chain for?
I don't know, but you could always try it on. Maybe it'll fit.
I hope I don't actually have to say this, but please don't lock yourself in chains. We need you ambulatory if you're going to save the world.
Now that the narrator has said this, I'm sure the skeptic is like, yeah, you just don't want me to figure this out. Fuck it, I'm I'm gonna go check it out. What harm could it do? Let's give it an inspection.
I wouldn't do that if I were you. And why is that?
Yeah.
I even need to explain myself. It's one without a key. Do you want to be stuck here? Like
This game is brilliant. They've thought through the psychology of the player so thoroughly and just prepared the perfect environment to follow through on that.
And what? Is it going to lock the second we put our wrist into it?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it will. He doesn't want us to look at it.
Yeah.
Reason we need to investigate.
I fucking knew it.
What if he's telling the truth?
God.
I am.
So what do we do though? Do I let this? This is kind of the skeptic's version of whatever's happening. I'm kind of curious to see. Yeah, let's let the skeptic drive this. Let's inspect.
Against your better judgment, you approach the chain dangling from the far wall. The princess watches you with faux disinterest as you inspect it, though she can't fully hide her curiosity. I don't want to say what I'm supposed to say next.
Oh. What have you done, lizard man?
What is that supposed to mean? It sounds bad. Is it bad? Yes, it's bad. Come out and say it then. You're just wasting time. Fine. As you hoist the shackle, its heft shifts within your grasp, as if pulled by some odd magnetism. Before you can so much as blink, it practically leaps from your hands, snapping around your neck.
Yeah, good job, skeptic. It it actually did happen.
And, as if your situation weren't bad enough, the same magnetism repels your blade, which is flung from your hand and sent skittering across the floor of the basement.
Great.
Excuse me?
This is bullshit.
Yes? Are we stuck here now? Yes.
Huh, so it does fit.
Shit.
And I guess it doesn't like your knife. We're stuck here together, aren't we? That's funny.
Fucking good job, skeptic.
What are we supposed to do now? Can't even cut ourselves out. Guess we'll starve.
Yeah, you fucking reasoned us into this.
That's horrible. It's not all bad. We learned a valuable piece of
And it doesn't even care. It's so concerned with being right that it's like literally fine with starving.
Not to touch things we're specifically told not to touch. No, that there's something special about this loose chain. It's clearly important.
You don't know that, you fucking idiot. The narrator did tell us that. I think on the ladder of trust, skeptic is now at the bottom for me. The narrator also, like, yes, he was dishonest. He misled us a little bit, but then he was also truthful about what was going to happen. The skeptic, I have learned, is not very trustworthy. Okay, so we're both stuck here.
Yep.
Great. What should we do?
Wait, I guess. Maybe something else will happen. Maybe not.
Did you know that this was going to happen to me?
No.
You're not one for small talk, are you?
Nope.
That's rude.
It's a little rude. Okay, I guess we'll wait.
You and the princess wait in silence, though neither of you knows what you're waiting for. But you're waiting for something. You're waiting for anything. This is so boring. There must be something we can do to get out of here. There must be something we're missing.
No, the thing that you're missing was not to touch the fucking shackle.
But there isn't. Time passes. It passes and passes and passes. And the basement of the cabin remains much the same. It is cold and silent.
Okay.
At least the world is safe. It isn't. You're stuck. Too far away from both the princess and your blade to do much of anything.
I don't know. Is someone else going to show up?
But she's not ending anything. She's just sitting there. Her very existence is a threat. It harms everything around it. How exactly does that work?
That I have to agree with. Like, okay, she's stuck here. Like, what? The guy keeps saying eventually she'll break out, but I've not seen anything that suggests that.
It just does.
I'm really not buying the just trust me, bro.
But your line of questioning is interrupted by the passage of even more time. And after that, even more time passes again.
Shit.
And let me guess, the cabin remains the same. If time is passing, the cabin can't be the same. Even if the differences are small, they have to exist.
Okay.
That's just how things work.
I fucking hate the skeptic now. He's so annoying. It's just any opportunity to disagree. It's so like pedantic at this point. It can't be the same. Didn't that dust just move over there? He's just entrenched
I suppose
in...
you're correct. Things are changing. The differences are small at first, a bit of weathering here, a bit of erosion there, but then they get larger and larger.
Have you noticed the basement changing?
I don't like small talk, remember?
But I want... look, all I want to do is talk.
Still rude.
So I guess we just keep waiting.
You continue to wait in silence, and the cabin continues to change. The decay comes faster now. You can see earth through holes in the stonework, can watch lichen spread along the seams of the walls. That doesn't make sense. Has our entire concept of time changed? What happened to starving? We should have died by now if the rocks around us are starting to erode.
Guess that's true.
She hasn't starved.
Neither have
I
we.
guess she hasn't. Even more silent time passes as you watch roots push themselves through the increasingly porous walls of the basement. Dirt seeps inside, flowing across the stone floor like a liquid, covering the ground and threatening to swallow you both. Time continues to pass, and pass, and pass.
I guess no matter what we do, if we don't slay her, an inevitable amount of time will pass and she'll be let out by the fact of this, by the walls just falling down.
Until suddenly, there are no walls.
I mean, technically we're outside.
And I think he's gone.
Would you look at that? We made it out of the cabin, and nothing bad had to happen to either of us. So this is the outside world. It's cold.
What the fuck? But you don't get the chance to respond. Something has taken her away, and it's left something else in her stead.
She's gone. Where did she go? Should we try and find her? And there's that mirror again. Why is it here? Why now?
No way they accounted for me checking the mirror as well. The narrator is gone.
He is. Does that mean the world ended? It must have. Do any of us know what the world ending is supposed to look like?
Guess not. I don't know where she went, and I don't know how we'd even go about looking for her.
If there's even a her to find anymore.
Right. She's gone. It's just us and that awful thing.
I think I'm supposed to look at the mirror.
There's something dreadful about it.
I don't think you should. You're right. Part of me wants the truth, but something stronger is holding me back. Fear.
Even the skeptic is skeptical of everything. I mean, naturally, but he's less inclined to just doubt the situation. Okay. So let's approach the mirror.
I'm begging you, don't do this.
We have no choice at this point. The mirror never scared us before.
It's different now. It feels, I don't know, final.
Approach the mirror. Let's get a look at this boy. Silence as you reach forward. They're gone, but the mirror remains. It's time for you to see what's in it. A lizard man! It's you. You are alone in a place that is empty. It is quiet here. Proceed to the... Fuck. Oh. I thought we were going for another loop. You're at the cabin. Search.
Something finds me in the long quiet and brings me the gift of a fragile vessel.
It suddenly got really emotional. What are you?
I am solitary lights in an empty city. What are you?
I don't know what I am. I don't know what I am.
I think that you are like me. We are oceans, reduced to shallow creeks.
Gift of a fragile vessel. The princess?
Yes, nerves and fibers to feel the worlds beyond, perspectives to make my own. This one is determined, but also cautious. One that would rather let the world move around her than move it herself. She will make for a patient heart.
So, whatever this is like it's taking on the perspective or seeing through the perspective of the princess, but in the realities we've seen, she's determined but cautious and not willing to be decisive.
Do not mourn her. She is exactly where she needs to be.
Where is she? Are you the princess?
She is part of me, and part of me is her.
Okay. So maybe there are many princesses, and the one we've seen so far is just one conditional personality. Were you always the princess, or are you just making her a part of yourself?
You speak in circles. Does it matter where one thing begins and another ends?
I don't know. Is this the end of the world?
How can the world have ended if we are talking?
That's a good point. Let's see. Let her out of there.
I'm sorry. There are some changes that can never be undone. There are some tears that can never be unshed. This is not a place that can hold a fragment of a concept. The moment she arrived here, She was going to return to me.
There's a lot of themes of determinism from the narrator's perspective to the various voices in our mind, but also like the deterministic nature of playing this game. Like, of course, you're only going to see the outcomes that the designers have given you. There's a lot of like meta stuff going on, which is great.
I promise that it doesn't hurt.
Do you know the narrator?
You are the only thing I have ever known. The space we're in is vacant. Nothing comes here but us.
Okay. Are you what sent me to slay the princess? Are you what trapped me here?
I have only just now stirred to consciousness. I could not have trapped you here, and I too yearn to be free.
So whatever is happening, we actually did set into motion. It's not that like we've entered a world where this loop has been going on and on and on. Like, I know they said there's no chicken and egg, but like we did start this. If this is the first time we're seeing this, and this is the first thing that this entity is experiencing. So in a sense, we created it. This is getting fucking cosmic. Do we know each other?
You are familiar, but you are not me. I feel sadness, longing, hope as I witness you.
Do you know about the worlds beyond this place?
I know only that they are.
What happens now?
Nothing, as we are. But I know that there are worlds beyond us, and that we are meant to reach them. There is no exit, but this vessel is a creature of perception. She can make you forget, if only you believe her to be able to. Bring me more perspectives, so that I may be whole, and perhaps then we will know our freedom.
So the more iterations of this story we go through, the more perspectives, the more free we are. Is that the message? How much will I forget?
Everything, until we meet again.
How many more pieces of you do I have to find?
More than you have found, but less than there are to find. I am infinite. The rest will find their own way home.
I was sent to slay the princess, to stop her from destroying the world. If I help you, is that what you're going to do?
You ask of things that cannot be done. To destroy is merely to reshape, to remold.
Okay. You're being semantic. What are you going to do if I help you?
How can I know? I am
That's fair.
flickers in something sprawling and unilluminated.
What if I don't?
Then we will be here forever,
Shit.
as we are now. Unfinished, dry, hollow.
Aren't you scared that I'll find a way to kill you?
I have not lived. I am not afraid to die.
Okay. I mean, I somewhat feel like... I want to help it. But I don't know why. Okay. Make me forget. If helping this thing is the only way for us to get what we want, what is it that we want? What does anybody want? Security, comfort, meaning behind our actions? To have lived a life that matters to someone, to enough people? How many people is enough? How many people's lives do you have to impact for you to feel satisfied at the end of your life that what you did mattered? How many perspectives? This game has me thinking now. Okay. I guess I'm ready to forget.
She asks that I tell you to remember her.
You know, I came into this thinking that this story was about trust, but maybe it is about choice more so. And whether those choices actually have a sense of meaning. The hero was concerned with making choices that were virtuous, like the right choice, which has a certain kind of meaning, while the skeptic was focused on whether the choices were like manipulated or not, whether it was able to outsmart the narrow selections of choices that it had. So it is sort of about like how much do we determine our own path?
You won't.
Shit. Fuck, I was not ready for that. Everything goes dark and you die. Chapter 1. The Hero and the Princess.
You're on a path in the woods, and at the end of that path is a cabin. And in the basement of that cabin is a princess. You're here to slay her. If you don't, it will be the end of the world.
Okay. You can skip previously seen dialogue by hitting tab. Okay. Well, I think this is probably where we should pause for now. And we'll pick this back up in the next episode of this journey. I have no fucking idea where this is going to go from here, or how much the next branch deviates. So, yeah, I guess this is where we're going to pause. So, I hope you've enjoyed this. I'm curious to hear your spoiler-free thoughts on what you've seen today. I'm extremely impressed by this so far. Like, look, I read people for a living. I spend a lot of time trying to parse and understand how to communicate people's sort of like obscured intentions and process undealt with emotions and that sort of thing. And the way that this game has been able to like sequentially predict sometimes my exact thoughts as I'm having them is just amazing. So yeah, thank you to everyone who has recommended me this. I cannot wait to see more of it. With that said, I will see you next time.